He said it on Twitter, Donald Trump, stating that he has the absolute right to share information pertaining to terrorism and airline safety. Perhaps, but at what price? The Washington Post breaking the story of U.S. intelligence sent into a mad scramble after the new U.S. president in the Oval Office told the Russian foreign minister and the Russian ambassador about intel that concerns ISIS and that came courtesy of an ally of Washington from the Middle East. The White House strongly denies any breach of national security. Already, though, one senior intelligence official has told the Associated Press his country might stop sharing information with the United States if it is confirmed that Trump shared classified details with Moscow. Does the most powerful nation on the planet have a president that can't keep a secret? What are the consequences, both globally and in Washington, where senior lawmakers from Trump's own party are voicing criticism? Today in the France 24 debate, Trump defends his sharing of intel with the Russians. And with us, retired General Dominique Trinquant, welcome back to the show. With us as well, he is a former U.S. attorney. Alex Whiting teaches at Harvard Law School, currently doing a fellowship at the American University of Paris.
Correct.
Thank you for being with us again.
Thank you.
And we want to thank as well Martin Cancé, a fellow with the German Marshall Fund.
Thank you.
And from Washington, former U.S. intelligence officer Michael Préjean, adjunct fellow at the Hudson Institute. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The France 24 debate on Facebook and Twitter, the hashtag F24debate. We could do with less drama from the White House. Those are the words of the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, criticizing a president who hails from his own party, Donald Trump, who took to Twitter bright and early to hit back at allegations in the Washington Post. Kathy Clifford has more.
Defending his decision to share state secrets with Russia, Trump took to Twitter.
As president, I wanted to share with Russia, which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to terrorism and airline flight safety, humanitarian reasons. Plus, I want Russia to greatly step up their fight against ISIS and terrorism.
This after the Washington Post alleged on Monday he divulged highly classified information to senior Russian officials during a meeting last week, and in doing so put at risk a source of intelligence on the Islamic State group. White House officials denied intelligence sources or methods were shared, though did not deny that classified information was revealed. Meanwhile, the spokesman for the Kremlin said the news was complete nonsense and not a subject to be denied or confirmed. All this comes amid calls for an independent investigation into claims of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia during the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Monday's report drew strong condemnation from Democrats, and even some Republican lawmakers criticized the president. Majority Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, usually a supporter of Trump, said congressional committees probing Russia should decide whether they need to seek any White House recordings. If proved, such a disclosure probably wouldn't be illegal. Presidents are allowed to declassify almost anything. The worry is that it could allow the Russians to discover the source of the information and how it was obtained. Also, it could dissuade certain allies from providing Washington with intelligence in future.
Michael Préjean, what has been the reaction of people in the intelligence community to this story?
Well, we only know what the sources told the Washington Post. Listen, I've known H.R. McMaster for 10 years. I worked with him in Iraq. I read the Washington Post story. When I first saw the headline, I was very concerned. I said, what did Trump do? What did the president say? And then I read the article, and I started seeing the inconsistencies, the hyperbole. And then I got down to H.R. McMaster's quote. And that quote is so important because before that quote, one of the sources infers or implies that Russia might be able to infer the methods and sources in this piece or in this story. That may be able to infer is not absolute. And then I got to H.R. McMaster's quote. And when you look at his quote, and I've known this guy, he's a credible guy. Both Democrats, Republicans, and members of the intelligence community are not going to call H.R. McMaster a liar. He says, at no time were methods and sources discussed, nor were military operations discussed. And then today's press conference, the most important was when he took questions. And the key thing that everybody's focusing on is, did Trump mention a city when he was briefing the Russians about a mutual threat, an ISIS threat to commercial airlines? Did Trump say the name of a city? And if you saw H.R. McMaster's response, it's what most people in the intelligence community would say. We know where ISIS is. If you say Raqqa, if you say Deir ez-Zor, if you say Mosul, if you say Hawija, if you say Sirte in Libya, it's not disclosing methods and sources. It's not like ISIS has a secret city somewhere that somehow Trump disclosed it. And again, H.R. McMaster said Trump wasn't even aware of the sources and methods in the intelligence. He was simply talking to Lavrov, telling Lavrov that, hey, there is a credible threat to commercial airlines that you should know about. And I've been a critic of Russia in Syria. I've been a critic as to whether or not Russia is an ally in the fight against ISIS. This is a way to tell the Russians, we have intel on ISIS, now maybe you should start doing something in Syria besides protecting Assad and start punishing ISIS like you've claimed all along. So I was reassured by McMaster's statement. Initially, when I saw the headline, I said, what could he have possibly revealed? And I'd like to say that if he did reveal sources and methods, I would be on the other side criticizing the president for doing so. But having heard McMaster's defense of what was said, I am very confident that what General McMaster said happened. He is not a yes man. He's not a yes man, and he's known to push back.
All right, let's listen to what he said. He said what the president shared was, quote, wholly appropriate. The national security advisor speaking to reporters a short while ago.
It was nothing that you would not know from open source reporting in terms of a source of concern. And it had all to do with operations that are already ongoing, have been made public for months. I should just make maybe the statement here that the president wasn't even aware, of where this information came from. He wasn't briefed on the source and method of the information either.
Wasn't even aware. What do you get from that, Alex Whiting?
Well, I think that's no doubt true, that he had not been briefed on the sources and methods, and nobody's really alleging that he directly disclosed the sources and methods. The allegation and the concern was that he had been so specific in the information that he provided, perhaps with respect to the city, perhaps with respect to other information, that together with other information could reveal sources and methods, could reveal the country that had provided the information under very strict conditions, could allow the specific source where the information was coming from to be revealed and perhaps endangered. And so it wasn't that he had directly revealed sources and methods, but that the specificity of the information would be dangerous. And this was apparently done completely off script and on an ad hoc way by the president. From all accounts, this had not been planned, but he just launched into that. And I think that the larger concern really here should be a question of basic competence in handling this information. Perhaps here we have skirted if we believe McMaster, maybe we've skirted disaster. But I think everybody should be concerned about the way the president handled this information and handled the meeting.
Do you agree, Martin Cancé? Is the president of the United States too impulsive?
I think that's actually the point. Not so much the fact that he may have shared confidential information or not, but why? Why did he choose to share this information? And if we have, as it is reported in the Washington Post, the president that is boasting about knowing a lot on ISIS and a potential attack, this is not something that should, reassure allies or even the American public. And on the opposite, if there is some kind of an intention behind sharing this information with the Russian, this is also very unclear. And why isn't it made it kind of clearer in McMaster's conference and in the different...
There's a lot of speculation there.
A lot of speculation?
Yeah, it's all speculation. Everybody has said, what if he's done this? What if his motives were this? H.R. McMaster was in the room. He said it was a conversation about a mutual threat to commercial airliners, an ISIS plot that everybody knows about, the ban of laptops on flights, policy that's being put in place in not only Europe, but also the Middle East and North Africa. It's a what if Trump is out of control. That's the whole premise.
All right, but he wouldn't confirm or
McMaster
deny.
says he's not.
Michael, he wouldn't confirm or deny that this was intelligence
because he shared classified.
from
Yes,
an
it was
ally.
intel.
And
it was intelligence.
It is important, though, whether or not it was U.S. intelligence or intelligence from a third-party country.
Here's how it breaks down. I'm a former intelligence officer, 28 years in the business. If an email, if a product, if a classified product from a third party says there is a credible threat of ISIS using a laptop on a commercial airliner, I can tell the Russian foreign minister that. It is intel from a report. What I can't say that is Jordan has an operator in Raqqa named Ahmed who's working on laptops to bypass security in airports, and this is his location, this is his name, this is the country. That's illegal. That's the violation. And that's why McMaster said, at no time were sources and methods revealed, because that's the only thing that would be illegal. Sharing the threat and saying it's based on credible intel is what a president should do with another head of state. In this case, not Putin necessarily, but Lavrov.
All right, General
General
Tankon.
We've got two matters there. Domestic politics, where people want to show that the president is not competent. I will not discuss about that. But we're talking about intelligence. Intelligence is a matter of confidence. When you've got intelligence providing by a third party or ally to a US or to another country, the other country or US has not as a property this intelligence. They are just sharing the intelligence. And if he's revealing the intelligence, I'm not talking about sources, but only the intelligence without asking the third party or the allied who is providing the intelligence, then there is a lack of confidence. You are breaking the confidence because the country didn't provide you the intelligence in order to share it with other people who are not part of this community. I just remind that the US have a special agreement, Five Eyes agreement, and France is on the border of this Five Eyes agreement. And when these 6 countries are sharing intelligence, the problem is to provide them to another country where we know that we've got problem of sharing intelligence with them. So I think that I'm not discussing about the competence of the president, but the fact that when you are breaking confidence, you've got a problem. The US had already this problem in 2003. When they were in front of the Security Council providing intelligence, which were lies, in fact. And so for years, there were difficulty to share intelligence with the US. And the problem is that now, in facing terrorism, we don't need that. We need to have confidence between allied.
So your confidence, just to be clear, Dominique Trinquant, your confidence is shaken. We're 10 days away from a NATO summit. Your faith in the United States' president's ability to keep a secret has been shaken by this story?
Certainly, if the country who is providing the intelligence know about this story and say, this is my intelligence who has been given to the Russian without my agreements, I've got a problem with the intelligence community.
Next week's NATO summit, one source telling Foreign Policy that, quote, organizers are freaking out. Michael Pregent, they say that people are scared of Donald Trump's unpredictability, intimidated by how he might react, knowing the president might speak his mind or tweet his mind.
Isn't that alarmist to think that? I mean, to be scared of a president. Here's the thing with Donald Trump. I'm not defending Donald Trump. What I'm saying is that if he actually messes up, there will be Republicans and Democrats that will turn against him. This Washington Post story is not that. This is not something that should shake the confidence of allies. This Washington Post story and the person who leaked it did far more damage to any ongoing intelligence operation than a conversation that took place between Lavrov and Trump, where McMaster said there was no damaging information leaked. There are too many alarmists that have been clouded by their distrust of Trump, by their hatred of Trump. And again, I'm not a Trump guy. I was a Rubio guy. But I am a McMaster guy, and I am a Mattis guy, and I am a former intelligence officer who's looked at these things. There is nothing in what I've heard that would cause me to lose any relationship I would have established with a case officer from another country that provided intel. And let's be clear on who these allies are that we're talking about that we wouldn't share this intel with. It's some Middle Eastern countries that we're not sharing the intel with because we're concerned that the word will get out and ISIS will be able to use countermeasures to bypass their security in their airports. Those are the allies that we didn't share this intel with, because they are the ones that have lax intel procedures in place.
Well, hang on. The Washington Post story says that the same source could also have information on what the Russians are doing in Syria.
Yeah, that's fine. We should have intel on what the Russians are doing in Syria. Again,
and that therefore this could expose that source to the wrath not only of ISIS, but to the Russians.
Listen, I mean, here's the deal. If Trump had released information on a highly classified U.S. weapons system, I would be on the other side saying that he should be impeached. This is the President of the United States sharing a credible intel threat with a foreign minister on international commercial airlines being the target of an ISIS plot. McMaster said they didn't go into details, that no sources and methods were revealed. Now, sources and methods, that's huge. That means that the country wasn't mentioned, the name of the asset wasn't mentioned, the collecting agency wasn't mentioned, the location wasn't mentioned, any countermeasures that were putting in place wasn't mentioned. This story in itself is overblown. And again, had this been Trump telling the Russians about a capability that the United States has, I would be calling for his impeachment for doing this. This is not that.
Not that. Alex Whiting, are you reassured by what Michael Pregin is saying?
No, not at all. I can't share that perspective at all. This is not an alarmist story.
Qualify why you can't share that perspective. Tell me why you can't share that perspective.
I will. You're a lawyer. If you give me a chance to speak, I will, Michael.
I will.
Okay.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay. So the alarm didn't come from the Washington Post. The alarm came from the White House. Immediately after this meeting, aides got in touch with the CIA, the NSA.
Came from
there was
Obama, holdovers in the National
Michael,
Security Council, not the White House. Let's get it straight. Let's get it straight.
Let me talk. There was a concern within the White House. McMaster's statement last night and Tillerson's statements last night were very carefully crafted to say that sources and methods weren't, and yours are not talking points, Michael.
No, they're actually facts.
Sources and
from
methods.
An intelligence officer.
I appreciate that you're an intelligence officer, but the alarm here came from the White House. There was concern about what happened. Immediately, efforts went to contain the damage. The statements were very carefully crafted. Today, McMaster has now said that he doesn't think anything inappropriate occurred. I appreciate that. But Michael, I don't think that you can defend that this was a policy decision that had been well deliberated. And if I could connect...
I'm going to interrupt you very briefly because we have to take a very quick break. Alex will pick up on your point when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.